الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. A very good afternoon to every single one of you, and thank you for having me here. And it's a pleasure and an honor to be among you here today. I think this is not the first time I've had the pleasure to be at Uni Razak. I think I've been here a few years back, but it's always a great pleasure to be back again and again. So thank you so much. Rightfully so, I think that the word love, though it has gone or it has undergone some reductionism processes, but I think it's really important to look back at the word love and the concept of love as is. I looked at the verse in the Quran, and I'm sure many of you have heard of it, where Allah Ta'ala said, قُلْ إِن كُنْتُمْ تُحِبُّونَ اللَّهَ فَاتَّبِعُونِي يُحْبِبُكُمُ اللَّهُ. Say, if you love Allah, follow me, Allah loves you. And I looked at that verse and contemplated it for a long time, and I didn't understand at the beginning how come the Creator of all tells us, or tells His Prophet, tell them, if they love Allah, they love the Creator of all, follow me, He loves you. To indicate that this is the journey of faith. Seemingly, the journey of faith is, if you love, you'll be loved. It begins with love, it ends with love. And it must obviously take us aback a bit when we see faith systems, religions, and especially our faith is being presented void of the very central theme and the essential component of it. Obviously, it must pain any faithful person to see a faith presented on the basis of rituals, a list of do's and a list of don'ts, rather than the absolute encompassing reality, which is love. To my mind at the beginning, and I'm sure to some of your minds, the verse does not seem kind of sequential, right? From a point of mathematics maybe, or physics. If you love God Almighty, if you love Allah, follow me, Allah loves you. I mean, follow me meaning follow the Prophet. How do you believe in the Prophet? First, you need to believe in the Creator in order for you to believe in the Prophet. You just don't go and believe in the Prophet without anything. So as if the verse would have been, in my mind, say if you believe in Allah, follow me, Allah loves you. That's gradual. That's logical. Say, if you believe in Allah, follow me, Allah loves you. Hey, so if you believe, you follow the Prophet ﷺ's way, and you reach and you attain the love of Allah Almighty. That sounds right, and that sounds gradual. Except that the Quran did not say that. Did not say so. Did not say that. Did not say, if you believe in Allah, follow me, Allah loves you. Because that's the automatic thing that comes to your mind. La ilaha illallah, Muhammad is Rasulullah, and then that means you get the love of Allah. Nope, that's not what the Quran said. The Quran insisted not to use, say, if you believe in Allah, follow me, Allah loves you. The Quran substituted, say, if you believe in Allah, with say, if you love Allah. From my original perspective, let's say, or how I was contemplating it, there was no substitution. That's how the Quran did it anyway. So instead of saying, say, if you believe in Allah, follow me, Allah loves you, Allah said, say, if you love Allah. And that shows us a very important thing that we often miss in our, especially to the communities of faith, and to everybody, that the beginning of faith is love. And without love, there is no faith. there is no faith at all. The faith becomes reduced to a list of do's and a list of don'ts, and the faith becomes reduced to a rational argument, a theory, orthodoxy, and has nothing to do with orthopraxy. It becomes, all right, I am good so long, let me negotiate this. All right, so it seems that we reduce the prophetic mission and all the prophets before the Prophet ﷺ to a simple sales pitch. That why don't you believe in what I'm saying, and then you'll get to avoid hell. So why don't you just do that? And then we end up doing that, and we say, all right, then that's good. So this is the orthodoxy. But then orthopraxy is entirely different, because the heart is not really involved in the whole thing. Love is not really involved. As if this verse is telling us that, yes, believing is loving. You remember old René Descartes, the French mathematician and philosopher. And he said his famous thing, I think, therefore I am. Well, I would like to say from a faithful perspective, I love, therefore I am. Because without love, there is no real life. That's what the Quran comes and tells us. Loving is living. If you don't love, you're not really living. You're not living. Loving is living, and living is loving. And from that, from the verse obviously in Surah Al-Imran that I just mentioned, you can easily deduce when Allah says, قُلْ إِن كُنْتُمْ تُحِبُّونَ اللَّهَ فَاتَّبِعُونِي يُحْبِبْكُمُ اللَّهِ. Say, if you love Allah, follow me, Allah loves you. You can easily deduce now, and you don't need to go to Descartes' equations and stuff, but you can work your mathematics that worshipping means loving, or loving is worshipping, and loving is believing, and believing is loving. Love is actually an act of worship. Love by itself is an act of worship, which today oftentimes we see this, many people who have zeal over the faith or overzealous with the faith, they try to take it out and marginalize it and ritualize the faith. Once you ritualize the faith, then you void it from love. It's got to be ritual and spiritual at the same time. So maybe I can then move to the logical statement rather than the mathematical one, to say then, what's the name of our Creator? Allah. Sure, that's amongst His name. He has many names. Allah is one of His names. Al-Ghafur, the all-forgiving, is one of His names. Ar-Rahim, the unconditionally compassionate, is one of His names. Ar-Rahman, the mercifully loving, is one of His names. Al-Ra'uf, the caring, the all-caring, is one of His names. The generous, etc., etc. But there's a name that we all forget oftentimes. Al-Wadud, the all-loving, which Al-Quran actually brings many times. Al-Wadud, the all-loving. And since we know that the Creator subhanahu wa ta'ala is not matter, and now from talking a bit of physics here, because matter is a mass that occupies space, right? So since we realize that the Creator is not matter, the Creator does matter. Meaning He creates matter. And of course He does matter. But the Creator is not matter. He is the one who created matter. He is the one who is eternal. Eternal in a sense with no beginning. Meaning before the dimension of time. As you all know from the singularity that physicists talk about, you've got time and space, which are really one thing. But anyway, if we put on a y-axis time, and we put on an x-axis space, from a singularity, you've got time and space going and beginning in a single direction, or sure, it's really a single direction, but gravity sort of expands things. But then we realize the Creator is the eternal with no beginning, because beginning implies a dimension of time, and the Creator is also the everlasting with no end, because also ends imply dimensions of time and space, etc. We realize that Al-Wadud subhanahu wa ta'ala, the eternal Creator, the eternal all-loving, has been gracing us with His Wud. Wadud, Wud, love, eternally, all the way. Our souls, all they realized was that love that the Creator, that the all-loving Creator gave them. Many of us, when we look at the issue of love, we don't realize that our souls that Allah Ta'ala put in Adam alayhi salam, our father Adam, were from the creation of the Creator Himself. And it's the most mysterious thing. From a point of faith, we believe the human being is body and soul. And we believe souls are old, very old. In fact, very, very, very old. I don't want to say eternal because there is a beginning to it, but it's very, very old. And in that, all humanity is the same in a sense. That's why we might not know each other in the soil aspect, but in the soul aspect, my soul and your soul are very, very old friends. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam tells us, indicates these things when he tells us, "Kullukum li Adam." All of you are from Adam. And there's a soul component, not just a soil component. A lot of people focus on the soil, the earthly component of our father Adam. And they forfeit or they forget to remember the most important part of our father Adam. And that's the part that Allah Ta'ala asked the angels to prostrate to. Because before that, the angels were not asked to prostrate to Adam. They were asked to prostrate to Adam once the soul was there, not the soil. And today the focus is very soil. Even when we talk about soulmates today, I always say it's more soil mates dimension rather than soul mates dimension. Because what we want from what we call soulmate is really soil gratification, not soul gratification necessarily. So we've got to also look at the terminology and the epistemology of such terminology and the validity of such terminology maybe. But that's not the point. I want to move to the point that the all-loving Al-Wadud subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I'd like us to refer to Allah as Al-Wadud, the all-loving. Well, He referred to Him as such. But oftentimes we go to other things, though He tells you over and over. Al-Wadud, the all-loving, sent His beloved. The prophets are the beloved of Allah Ta'ala. He commissioned them with this. Sent His beloved with love. Out of His wit, with love, to teach love, with love, for love, and to love. يا أيتها النفس المطمئنة ارجعي إلى ربك راضية مرضية, pleased and loved. The notion to reduce love into commercial advertisements and commercials, the way we do things nowadays, has really done a lot of harm to the very point love. That love that worshippers and mystics and Sufis and others, they harp around and talk about. The love that physicians prescribe to people to say, all right, you will heal, but you need that power of love in you, that power in you to want to heal. That love that poets use as an inspiration to bring out some of the most beautiful poetry. Love is the thing that makes people in love not see each other's imperfection and almost fly, not rather than walk. That love that makes an engineer who loves what he does the best thing, brings out the best in his or her engineering, makes the teacher, brings out the best of what they can in their teaching. So people love that topic just because the teacher is putting so much love in what he's teaching, even if it's physics. I had always a problem with physics. That love that moves things should not be really subject to a reductionist view of what love is. And that's why the Prophet ﷺ reiterates that Iman or faith starts with love, to tell us that if there's no love, there's no Iman. لا تؤمنوا حتى تحابوا أولا. You will not believe until you love in the first place. أولا. الحديث في صحيح مسلم. You will not believe, he tells you, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, until you love first. And what do we do today? When we talk about faith in general, we talk about, you gotta do this, can't do this. And therefore we worship the Creator, the all-loving subhanahu wa ta'ala with our mind. And therefore we worship Him based on transactions, meaning if I do this, I'm going to get this. If I do that, I'm going to get that. But He, the Creator, does not deal with us based on what we do. You see, that's why He tells you, you ought to extend your love to those who are worthy of your love and those who are not worthy of your love. You say, all right, I understand that I need to extend my love to those who are worthy, but I don't know, how can I extend love to those who are not worthy? Well, simply because the Creator extends His love to those who are worthy and to those who are not worthy. And He tells you in the Quran, هَلْ جَزَاءُ الْإِحْسَانِ إِلَّا الْإِحْسَانِ. Isn't the reward of Him doing good to you except that you do good unto others? I always say one of the strongest connections, therefore, our souls have to our pre-mortal life, before we were born in this form of our bodies. One of the strongest connections to our life when we were in the soul of Adam alayhi salatu wassalam, our father. Because we have that line, we all go to Adam. Is the relationship with the all-loving Al-Wadud subhanahu wa ta'ala on that soul. One of the strongest connections we have to our pre-mortal life is how much Al-Wadud, the all-loving Creator, graced that soul with love and showered it and enveloped it with love. And that's why we all of us, regardless what we believe or practice, we all have a longing, a deep-seated longing for that world of Puritan love or pure love. And that's why we fall for anyone who says, I love you. We like it. It doesn't matter what it is. You can sell it to me in the stores. I'm going to buy it. You can make the heart looks like this. I don't know how they got it, by the way. I mean, as a physician, you know that the heart does not really look like this. So that was a shock for me at the beginning studying medicine. I said, man, anatomy must be wrong. Let's do a spiritual anatomy. But then I don't know who came up with this. If some of you know who came up with this, the heart being like this, then you let me know. Because that would be really nice to know. I sort of gave up hope on that. But you can tell me that this is the heart and that's love, and you can paint it in red as well. And I don't know also why the point red. But anyway, you can paint it in red and tell me that this is a symbol of love, and guess what? I'm going to go and buy it. I'm going to be attracted to it. I'm going to be attracted to the symbol of love, and to the words of love, and to the feelings of love, even if I know they're not genuine. That's because my soul is attracted to that pre-mortal life that I had that was filled with love, and that's all I experienced. and it has a longing to go back to that world. Well, that's what Sayyidina Bilal al-Habashi radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, you all know Sayyidina Bilal, the mu'adhin, the announcer of the adhan of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. After he lived all his life and he is passing away, and his wife tells him, I don't see you sad. He says, غَدًا أَلْقَى الْأَحِبَّةِ مُحَمَّدًا وَحِزْبَهِ. Tomorrow I will be with my beloved. So they sort of look forward to live a life of love. To live a life of love. And when the time comes to move to the next life of love, they didn't see an interruption, because obviously the notion that death befalls the people of love is a wrong notion. Death befalls the bodies, because soil was created to remain with soil. But soul is heavenly, not earthly. And the soul is created to remain with the soul. And the souls, obviously, that's the world of love that we're talking about. Today, when we talk about worship, and we talk about religions, and we talk about things, I want to call all your attention to something that's very basic, the ayah that I started with. قُلْ إِن كُنْتُمْ تُحِبُّونَ اللَّهَ فَاتَّبِعُونِي يُحْبِبْكُمُ اللَّهُ. If you're following the religion and you have no love, there's a problem with your faith. Take a moment. Reflection. Search for Allah's love. Search for it. Literally. Search for God. Do some, don't, you know what is said? Do some soul searching. Remember that sort of soul searching? And usually what they mean by that, do some mind searching. But again, that's also among the misrepresentations of things. But hey, we can use it to our advantage here. So do some actual, truly some soul searching. Doesn't mean you have to go to some mountains or go on a deserted island and just have reflections. If that's what it needs, then go ahead, do it. If you like, and if it's a nice island, invite us over. But it means we really have to start doing some soul searching to search for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when I'm saying searching for Him is trying to connect with the love that, with al-wid, that al-wadud, the all-loving, has already graced us with eternally. And I'll tell you something, there's absolutely no shortage of love out there. It's our willingness to embrace and accept it. Embrace it with all our heart. A lot of people worship the Creator subhanahu wa ta'ala with their mind, not with their hearts. And therefore they don't embrace Allah ta'ala's love with all their hearts. They embrace Him with their minds. And therefore even when they talk about Him, they talk about Him from a matter of only mind. Do, don't, this, that. But the aspect of love is the one that actually puts life to actions. An action that is void of love is a dead action. There's no soul. Love is like the soul of an action. Love is like the soul of words you say. And you know, they've always taught us in sociology, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. Didn't they say that always? It's not what you say, you can say, but it's how you say it. And what do they mean by how you say it? Does it have love in it? You can say the sweetest things, but they're empty, they're void of love. They don't have that effect. And you know what? You don't have to say a word. All you have to do is emanate love, and the message comes across. Just all you have to do is observe those who are in love. They can sit in front of each other for an hour not saying a word. But you know there's non-verbal communication going on there. You don't have to say anything. Because love is a language on and of, in and it's of and its own. Its own language. You don't need to say anything. Its non-verbal communication is much more effective. That's what the Prophet ﷺ came with. That's why I said, the all-loving sent His beloved out of love to teach love, with love, for love. The Prophet ﷺ did not. What did he say when Allah Ta'ala tells us from Quran Kareem, "Ud'u ila sabili rabbika bil hikmati wal maw'izati al hasana." Call unto the path of your Lord. With what? Hikmah. Wisdom. Did he say with information? Malumat? Information doesn't mean wisdom. Information may lead to wisdom. But information, data collection, let me put it now in the new terms. Data collection does not mean wisdom. A nice memory stick has lots of data. Doesn't mean wisdom. Wisdom and information are two different things, and that's why it requires information, requires a realization of the information, etc., to yield wisdom. And Quran Kareem insists that our da'wah for ourselves first. A lot of people think da'wah is to others. They forget themselves and they start with others. While Quran insists that we start with ourselves before we start with others. But call unto your Lord with hikmah, and then maw'idah hasana. Hasana here, beautiful, loving call. There has to be something hasan, something beautiful. And love is obviously beautiful. But we leave that aside and we use, like I usually say, mental tennis. Mental tennis is where we say, here, I know this, and this is the right thing, and you say, no, I know this is the right thing, and then we play mental tennis, and we've left faith entirely aside. I think as young people starting out our life, do some soul searching, look for Allah Ta'ala. What I mean by look for Allah Ta'ala, I don't mean necessarily in certain places or certain times. Those certain places and certain times may help, may be catalysts for that. But look for Him in your heart. When you're praying, when you're contemplating and reflection, do you open your heart? Do you embrace that love that the All-Loving gave you, that has been giving you eternally? Or do you shut your heart entirely and just use it, say, all right, if there is, then I'll worship. If there isn't, then whatever. Because the name Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim has a different meaning, would have a different meaning with love. Living with Allah Ta'ala with love has a different meaning. Loving your family with the love of Allah Ta'ala has a different meaning. Loving your friends has a different meaning with loving Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. The very basic aspects of worship with love has a different meaning. Different meaning altogether. Today we go to mosques and people of faith go to their places of worship, and oftentimes, as in mosques, you take out your shoes. A lot of people leave their hearts where their shoes are, and then they enter. What's the point that you bring your body in? I need you to bring your heart with you, not just your body. You need you to worship Him with your heart, not just with your body. And that's where the Prophet ﷺ told us, the hadith of Ihsan, is that you worship Allah as if you're seeing Him. Look, all of us, regardless who we are, regardless how comfortable your surroundings are, regardless how beautiful you are, regardless how powerful you are, regardless where you are, none of us is here to stay in this dimension. We're all here to move to the next dimension. Philosophers have always asked the basic simple questions. Where to, where from, and why? Where to, where from, and why? Very simple questions. It'd be an awful waste of time if you are right here in Kuala Lumpur now, and I'm not going to do that. But let's say you fall asleep and I put you on a plane and send you to Argentina. And then you wake up, you're in Argentina. Obviously it's a long flight. But then you wake up and you just go about your life as if nothing happened. All right, it's time to go to Razak. You're in Argentina, they speak different language, there's different people, there's different things, and you don't ask where from, where to, and why, and you just continue, say, hey, it sounds like right anyway, so it's sort of out of place. A lot of people today, we live in a world that is longing for love. Even religions, which are supposed to be source of love, are giving instead dogma rather than love. Dogma void of love. Dogma stripped of love. So that many people, in the name of faith, erect walls of hate in the very name of love. We need to look at all these things. Today, the world, the way it works, again, the world today is suffering from many things. The whole world, you see all the financial distress, though we have much more possessions than ever before. Possession-wise, we have more. But it seems love is not the same. Love has receded, but possessions are a bit more. I'm not against possessions. I'm definitely not a socialist. But love is the most precious thing Allah Ta'ala asked you to have. With Him, قُلْ إِن كُنْتُمْ تُحِبُّونَ اللَّهِ, with His Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Not only that, look at the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and I need to mention it, I mention it all the time, because it's so profound. At-Tirmidhi narrates it, it's sahih. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he's among the prophets, and obviously prophets of Allah are those who are extremely spiritual and refined in every way, perfected in every way. Look at his dua, his own prayers to Allah. Allahumma inni as'aluka hubbak. Ya Allah, I ask you to grant me your love. How many times do we ask Allah Ta'ala to grant us His love more and more? We ask Him for everything else. And especially when I was a student, I'm still a student. But when I was in college, obviously the night before the exams, that's when I do Taraweeh, even if it's not Ramadan. You pray 20 rak'ah, 30 rak'ah, whatever it is. I mean, you're just going to do it. Because you're waiting for Jibreel to come next day in the test, during the test, and give you the answers, you know. All right, which one should I take? And then Jibreel never showed up. Alayhi salam. Yeah, we all did that. We all did that. But remember, we're all students anyway. I always say a good student never graduates. Please don't take that literally. You need to graduate. But a good student of life never graduates. Sure. Well, because if you stop learning today, you can't teach tomorrow. Today we live in a world that has all these things, right? We have financial crisis throughout the world. We have political crisis throughout the world. We have spiritual crisis throughout the world. There are crises there. We seem to have more, but we seem to have less. And we're trying to compensate in the wrong things sometimes. So we compensate more things. It's sort of like having religion through only information. So what do we do? All right, religion, information. All right, I'm feeling weak in my faith and iman. Let me go to another lecture. All right, so I go to another lecture. And then I get to the point, I always say they want to put IV lectures in our stream. Here you go, just go ahead. Put the IV, hook the IV line up, and let's just get more and more. But we're pounding more information without any realization, without any transformation, without any orthopraxy, just orthodoxy. But more information, we're ending up with a syndrome of information overload. And all of us, I always say, look, most of you, if not almost all, would know the prophetic hadith, the prophetic tradition saying that says, this is what the Prophet Muhammad said, في البخاري الحديث, من كان يؤمن بالله واليوم الآخر أو لا يؤمن أحدكم حتى يحب لأخيه ما يحب لنفسه. One of you would not be a believer in Allah until you love for your fellow human being what you love for yourself. How many know that hadith? You can raise your hand if you know it. All right. So it is substantial. We don't know this basic hadith, right? One of you would not be a believer until you love for your fellow brother what you love for yourself. Very famous, very known. Many of us memorize it. How many of us practice it? The crisis today is not information. The crisis today is application. The crisis today is not knowing that we ought to love our family. that we know already. The crisis today is application. The crisis today is not developing a beautiful curriculum, but the crisis today is out of this curriculum. Are we doing character building? Are we building values? Do we have components of value building in these students? Are they coming out to be good mothers and good fathers and good sons and good daughters and good citizens and good neighbors and good world citizens and good human beings in the first place? Because a good Muslim is a good human being in the first place. Or are we just sending people out who are filled with information? The hard disk is complete, but we're not generating what we call tarbiyah. Is part of ta'aleem, is part of education. Education is not information loading only, it's transformation. It's a transformative process, not just an informative process. And that's where the Prophet ﷺ used to always say, Allahumma inni as'aluka, a'udhu bika afwan, a'udhu bika min ilmin la yanfa'. Ya Allah, I seek refuge to you from knowledge that is not beneficial. Not every knowledge is beneficial. People sometimes use their knowledge to bring on misery to humanity. Instead of building weapons of mass instruction, we build weapons of mass destruction. With knowledge. Knowledge ought to give you, or ought to point you to apply it. Ilm nafi', not ilm la yanfa'. That you build things, weapons if you want to say, because knowledge is a weapon. But you build weapons of mass instruction, mass construction, not mass destruction. Well, by the way, isn't that why we are the children of Adam, not the children of Iblis, Satan, Shaitan? Isn't that the reason that Al-Quran says that when Allah Ta'ala asked Iblis to make sujood to Adam, Iblis refused, Shaitan refused and insisted that he is better than Adam because he is from fire and Adam is from clay? Well, excuse me, what made Iblis or the devil or Satan or Shaitan, what made him think that he is better than Adam? The very sole thing, that he is made from fire. He was fooled by his firepower. What Iblis did not realize is that clay, which our father Adam is made up of, is also power. But unlike fire, clay is a power of construction versus fire is a power of destruction. And that's why Al-Quran insisted that we ought to follow the steps of our father Adam, not Iblis. Not to be an element of destruction and fire and misery and burning and death, but to be an element or a positive power of building and construction. And clay has an element of water with soil. So your soil with water, and water is a symbol of life, not death. All this stems in love. And that's why Al-Quran insisted that living is loving in these meanings. Living is loving, and loving is living. And if you don't love, you're not really living. That's why Al-Quran Al-Karim tried to make us distinguished a little bit from other things. Though Al-Quran tells us in many ways that everything in the universe is living. You are, all of us, we are living in a very living universe, breathing universe. Not just living, very living universe. Maybe now with Einstein's specific law of relativity, now we understand that accounting for G speed and all that, and that the world is probably, according at least to expansionists, that the world is actually undergoing expansion. all the time in the speed of light, 187,000 miles a second. You're living in a very living universe. You're part of life as it is out there. There's nothing that's not living. Al-Quran Al-Kareem says, بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وَإِن مِّن شَيْءٍ إِلَّا يُسَبِّحُ بِحَمْدِهِ. Everything is in love and awe of its creator. Even if you don't understand their language of love. But if you do understand the language of love, you'll be able to speak to things around the universe. Do you see how the Prophet ﷺ in Sahih al-Bukhari Muslim, where he stood on the mountain, Mount Uhud in Medina, and he said to the companions radiallahu anhum ajma'in, Uhudun jabalun yuhibbuna wa nuhibbuhu. Uhud is a mountain that loves us and we love it. The tree that embraced the Prophet ﷺ, the things that happened here and there with all the prophets of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there's a language of love that was being talked, unlike the language of hate that was being peddled by the tyrants of their time. Today we're invited to follow the line of Adam, the line of love. And I want to remind again before I finish, no love, no faith. And really no love, no life. So if you don't have love, get a life. Meaning get a love, sorry. No, I'm not. If you have no love, is that drive that brings out the best in you. You know it. You've experienced it. Why are you shunning it? It brings out the best in you. I always say, love is illuminating. Number one, it illuminates you, and you become not just illuminated, but illuminating. Why do you think that Allah Ta'ala, when He described the Prophet ﷺ, He called him Sirajan Munira? You are not only illuminated, Ya Rasulullah, you're also illuminating. You are Munira, Sirajan Munira, a fountain of light, a source of light. And when you embrace that love that the Prophet ﷺ brought to us, and because he's the unconditional mercy to the world, unconditional love to the world, Rahman al-Alameen, you also become illuminated and illuminating. And I always say illuminating suits you very well, all of you. Loving suits you so very well. You were created to illuminate, not just be illuminated. You're created as a channel of channeling love, not just embracing it. Don't live it. Don't live your life and waste it without it. You'll have a much better appreciation for the Creator subhanahu wa ta'ala. Much better appreciation for the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Because the original book of love is no other than the Quran of Allah Ta'ala, Al-Quran Al-Kareem. The messenger of love, Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, as Allah puts it in the middle, قُلْ إِن كُنْتُمْ تُحِبُّونَ اللَّهِ فَاتَّبِعُونِي يُحْبِبْكُمُ اللَّهِ. He puts in between, if you love Allah, Allah loves you. That means He's the messenger of love. Takes you from the love of Allah to the love of Allah. That's what it means. That's what the verse means. So, start that journey of love, if I may entice you to do so. Worship Him, knowing that worshiping is loving, and loving is worshiping. The journey to love does not start with the mind and the body only, but with the heart. Bring your heart with you. Observe that He's with you. You're never alone. There's the all-loving with you. Reach out to Him subhanahu wa ta'ala and live your life with Him. I leave it at this, I think. Thank you for listening, and we've talked about questions and answers, so I'll open the floor inshallah. Jazakumullahu khairan wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa alihi walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.